Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Goals Podcast. I'm Dawn, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. This podcast is dedicated to bringing people's stories to light and hearing their journeys of inspiration and self-growth. But it's also about connection and knowing that you are not alone. Each week, I get the chance to sit down and talk with an amazing soul, someone I've had the blessing of either meeting or following in my life. I am so grateful for my guests. Their openness and their vulnerability, it is unmatched as we share heartfelt conversations together about both their challenges and their triumphs. I hope that you can grab some inspiration and connection from my guests and their stories. I know I certainly have with each conversation. What an honor to sit with these brave souls. Everyone has a story, folks, and every story matters. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Soul Goals. So glad to have you joining us today. My name is Dawn, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing my twin next to me. I'm so excited that my daughter, Amanda Cunningham, has joined this podcast today because she has a great story. And I know as a mom, like you go, oh, my kids have great stories, but like this is really pretty inspirational, especially if you are an athlete and it's something that you are aspiring to move towards and how you navigate that whole journey in the face of some critique that happens along the way and what you do with that and how you rise above it and how you achieve your goals. So I think I'm personally biased because you're my kid, but I do feel like your words have such value for other people, specifically people in your age demographic, those young 20s getting ready to finish college up, or even those that are getting ready to start college. So I'm excited to share with everybody my beautiful daughter's story. Amanda Cunningham, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Freshly showered from practice, though.
Yes, you just came out of the sand literally like 45 minutes ago.
Yep.
All right. So early morning practice. Do you like early morning practice or would you rather have it later in the day?
I enjoy morning practices because I think it's just like a nice start to the day. But then lifts are a different story because this semester I have 3 classes after lift.
So like lifting. So educate the people at home. Lift means like that's like conditioning and lifting weights, like with your trainer, right?
Yeah. So we lift 3 times a week. And that's basically just like a mix of weight training and a HIIT workout, basically.
So what you're saying is that you have to do that early and then go directly to class?
Yes. I stay in my lift outfit. I get like a small bite to eat and then I'm in class for the next 3 hours.
So that's what I want to run by you. First of all, I want people to know what a day in your life could look like, encapsulating everything that you as a now senior collegiate athlete in Jacksonville, Florida at Jacksonville University. What does that encompass for you? Give me a snapshot of a typical day for you.
Yeah. So I'll just do like lift days. So we have lift from 7 to 8. We have to be there about 5 minutes early. So we'll do that. And then if I need any treatment from our trainer before, I'll go in before or after. And that involves anything from ice baths to cupping. So then after that, I obviously have class. And thankfully our business school is close to the weight room. So it's not a far walk.
That's good.
Go to class usually from 8 until like 12:15, run back to the apartment. And then usually we'll have practices anywhere from the hour of 2 to 6. So if I didn't get treatment in the morning, then I have time to go do that before practice or just chill and breathe. That's like my breathing part of the day. So then we'll go to practice, usually end around 6-ish. And then I like to be involved on campus. So whether it's FCA, we have our student athletic advisory committee that I just had a meeting for last night. So all of that will happen at night. So I'll usually end my day at about 9 p.m. And
That's
I'll do
crazy.
that for all the weekdays.
That's crazy. And so like, I love that you encompass that whole, there's a chance to breathe. And so I think, what have you learned over the course of your closing on 4 years now. What's the importance of taking those micro moments that you have in your day that's packed so full to take those times to breathe? Like, what does that do for you as a person? What have you learned it does for you, I should say?
Yeah, I think as athletes, we're told that like we need to be involved in doing everything all the time. Like if you're sitting still, then you're quote like lazy.
Yeah.
And so that was really hard for me freshman year because I didn't have that time to breathe. I had about 10 minutes to change in my dorm room before practice. And about halfway through freshman year, I was like, okay, it's okay to sit down. It's okay to take breaks. Like that's what your body needs because you're asking so much of it. And so I just try to be present in those breathing moments and just be with myself. So,
Yeah. And I think too, I love that you're involved in other stuff. You mentioned FCA. And so people may not know what FCA stands for. Is it Fellowship of Christian Athletes?
yes. Yeah. So basically, once a week, all of any athlete that wants to come will meet at our lacrosse field. And it's basically just a way to connect with other athletes outside your sport. In a Christian setting. So we'll play a game, then we'll go in and do a talk. And it's been like a really big blessing for me, I think, in a sport, just because you don't get that aspect in your sport every day. So just choosing to be there is just, and seeing other athletes that are choosing to be there, it really just creates a deeper connection, I think.
Right. And I think you said a great thing. It's choosing. And along the way, you have to make those choices. Some of those choices are hard when you have an option to like go and sleep or go out with friends. And you have to know what feeds you the most to be able to get the most out of your experience and to treat yourself the best that you can so that you can be the best in your academics and in your athletics and in your relationships with people. So I totally get that. What's your favorite outside of athletics activity?
I really enjoy FCA just because I think we don't see a ton of like we see athletes on campus every day. We're a smaller school, so we have a lot of athletes in our classes. But as far as other majors and sports we don't see all the time, it's really cool to see them once a week and then form that connection so that when you do see each other on campus, it just makes it that much more special. So I really enjoy FCA. We also have campus connections. So that's another version of like a Christian get together, and this family opens their home and feeds all of us 3 times a week.
Crazy.
It is crazy. They are truly a godsend. So we'll do that and then have a cute little Bible study after, and it's awesome.
Yeah. So campus connections, because I know here in Nashville, Lipscomb does something like that as well. And I just can't imagine. I met your campus connections folks last season, I think at the ASUN championships, and where I really sat and talked to them. And I just walked away going, these people are opening their home. And I mean, it's not just to your team. It's not 10 people or 20 people. It's how many they're feeding. And
we have at least 30 people a night, and they have 2 different sections each night. So that's 60 mouths at least. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever asked them like what brought them to do that?
Yeah, they actually told us. And it was kind of just, they were feeling unfulfilled in their, regular day lives. And thankfully, Mr. Johnny, that's the husband, but we call him Mr. Johnny. And then the female, that's Miss Tammy. And she basically calls herself our moms. And it's truly like, it's true. It's our mom away from our moms. And it's just nice to step off of a campus role and you step into a house and it's like, okay, I can breathe. Like I can be myself. But yeah, they felt a calling to it, and they're actually trying to grow it even more every year.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's that action to serve. And I think that's such a big deal. And I think them giving back in that capacity is showing your age demographic how important that is to serve. Because I know that's been a big thing for you when you were in high school, is that service element and that service aspect. And it was something you had to do for service hours through your high school. But I know how much you valued that as you were going through your high school years. So I kind of want to go back in time now that we kind of see how you are now and where you are now, how you got started, because you play beach volleyball, but it didn't start that way. I know it had a passenger seat right there, front row seat to your experience. You were, gosh, what sports did you play? You played soccer, you did karate, you did all those things, softball.
Swim.
Swim. Oh my gosh, you were a huge swimmer. You know what? I've told you this before. It broke my heart at the end of the season when you said, I'm done. I'm not swimming anymore. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you're such a great swimmer. I was like, And you told me you wanted to play volleyball. And I was like,
Yep.
have you played volleyball?
No, I think I was thinking about it, and I think there was something at HRA, my like middle school, and they had volleyball tryouts, and I was like, that sounds fun. And I think I talked to a few friends, and so we were like, what if we just went and tried out? And at this point, I hated swimming. It was just not like where my heart was, and every time I went to practice, it was just I just knew I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And so volleyball was like the next best thing, and I was like, this sounds cool. Let's try it. So
And you tried it. And that was it, like indoor volleyball, like that was the deal.
yeah,
You did that for a number of, that was that fifth or sixth grade?
that was fifth grade. And I played I played through my senior year in high school, but I stopped playing club junior year.
Yeah. And the reason you stopped playing club your junior year was that dreaded COVID word.
Yes.
Yeah. But if we get into that one, that's really the blessing of all of it. That was
Yeah.
really such a huge thing for you because you had been recruiting actively to play indoor volleyball collegiately. Is that right?
Yeah. I actually hated beach. I like tell people this whenever they ask about my recruiting story. It's super unique because I had this one coach, Dorsey, who every time we would go out to like cross train in beach, he would say, when are you going to come out to beach full time? And I was like, no, Dorsey, I'm recruiting for indoor. That is that. Like I have my mindset on it. I have my goals. I'm playing Division I indoor. And so I think COVID was truly a blessing because I wouldn't be in Jacksonville, Florida, if it wouldn't have happened, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so COVID happened. Indoor was shut down. So my thought process was, okay, great. I'm going to go play beach and I'm going to cross train and keep my skill up for indoor and continue recruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That didn't happen that way.
Nope. So we started playing. It was literally just me and my sister. I know you would just send us out there with Dorsey, like just get out of the house.
Yeah. After about 5 weeks of COVID and you guys hitting balls against a wall and like I do actually too creatively, you set up some kind of like sawhorse and a plywood piece from your dad's building and like you were hitting against it and peppering with that. So I mean, I get it's ingenuity. Like we just needed to do something. I was like, take these kids, do whatever.
So we did that and I started to enjoy it. And then I think I remember one of my really, really good indoor friends from like 12-year-old. Her name's Anna Cade, shout out. But she asked me to play in a tournament in Gulf Shores, which Gulf Shores has like huge beach tournaments, which I had no idea at the time. Mm-hmm. So I was like, sure, like let's do it. Go down there, get our butts handed to us. We're in a pool with like Arizona State, Pepperdine, USC commits, LSU. Like we're talking top 10 programs. Yes. And I'm just there because I still am on the indoor route. I'm like, you know what? It's just competition. So we finished the weekend and I was like, I think I really enjoyed this weekend. And I actually remember the conversation. We were driving over to our family's condo and I look at you and I'm like, I think I really had a good time. And she was like, oh, cool. And I was like, well, like, what if I started recruiting for this? And I think after that, it was just kind of like, okay, because COVID had happened. Like we've seen our worlds get turned upside down. And I was like, let's just go try it. The worst that can happen is I don't. But if I don't try, I'm going to regret it. So.
Right. And I think that's the big thing that I learned about you in that moment is that if you live with regrets, you can't get that back. You know what I'm saying? You have to know that you've put all your effort into trying something that really is on your heart. Because if you don't try, then that's where your regret comes later in life. And you just never know. If it doesn't work out, then you know there's a different path for you. And so I've never been more thankful that COVID shut indoor down for you because that was a really beautiful path and a really nice opening that you would have never probably explored.
Yeah. And I like to think of it like you always hear the phrase, like you tell God your plans and he laughs. And that is my motto for life because like looking back, that is my life. Like I was set on indoor and then now looking back, I would have been truly miserable if I would have played 4 more years of indoor. And beach has just opened up so many other doors. So yeah.
Well, and I think too, a big part, I want to go back to when you were recruiting for indoor, because through your club volleyball experience and everything that went along with it, you were never on the top team. You always struggled to get to that point where you're like, hey, I want to be looked at. And you did all of that really valuable legwork to get yourself out there. And you didn't get a lot of feedback from coaches that was positive for you. And there was a lot of negative stuff coming at you from people saying you're not capable of really playing at the level you think you are. So we probably should reform this realistic idea and this thought form. But I want to say to anybody listening that I believe that the power of your will, and then coupled with the allowance of what you just said, you make your plans and God laughs at them, coupled with that openness to, not attaching expectation to something, but just knowing that this is your desire and this is your passion. If you couple the two of those two things together without expectations, it really opens up a lot of avenues. I want to know, give me your feelings and your thoughts when you were in the middle of hearing those critiques, knowing what you felt.
Yeah. So for indoor, like, size is power. And I am a 5'5" defender on the beach court. At that point, I was probably 5'4", 5'3".
Yeah.
So my position, defensive specialist, libero, super disposable. It still is, because you can have an outside hitter come in and play your back row, and then it's like all you do is pass. So that was already a struggle because tryouts, there would be about 10 defenders and teams only took 2 tops.
Right.
So that was a struggle for indoor. And then also I was trying to get recruited, and I would hear from obviously you and Dad and Kate that like I can do anything I want. And then I'd step into the gym that I'm in every day of the week. And I had some people that were saying the same thing that y'all were. And then I had others that would tell me every day, you need to be realistic. You need to, like, you're late in the recruiting process. Like, you should be looking at this school, not this school. And looking back, it just shows me so much like how other people's thoughts are not yours. And if you feed into that, like, that's going to be your thoughts. And if you don't, and if you say, you know what, that's your thought, and I respect that you are a person too, but also, like, that's not where I want to go.
Yeah.
So, and like, no shade to any, I know that people say that Division I all the way to NAI is a college sport, and I completely agree. I think being a college athlete at any level shows you so many more experiences than any other experience.
Absolutely.
But for me, it was just like I was going Division I or I wasn't going to play. And I remember having that conversation with you, and I truly knew that I could do it. It was just finding the right program and having the people believe in me. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember talking to a friend quite a few years back and talking to her about you wanting to, like, as a mom talking to another mom, like, she really, this is really her desire. Like, how do I help her do that in the face of, as you're growing and maturing, in the face of getting these, you can do anything you want to, but then you get those louder voices that sometimes come into your head. I mean, you're a girl, you're a teenage girl, and you're listening to all this different stuff coming in your environment. Like, how do you help your kid move to a place where they really truly understand that about themselves? It's really it was really interesting, because I want to say, for me as a mom, watching you really stand in that belief for yourself was really remarkable. And I feel like so many other people could do that if they just turned down some of the outside exterior mechanism, if you will, the noise.
Yeah. It's hard too, because I think social media too, it drives a lot of that, and our lives are so loud. And I think that's why the whole breathing thing, like we talked about, just like, we have so many people surrounding us that, yes, do support us, but they also have their own lives going on, and if you let that craziness and that voice feed into yours, then you're just going to have a lot of yelling in your mind. And I don't think that's how we were supposed to live. So.
Right. And it's also, you brought up another interesting point. It's like respecting other people's journey. And like, you don't have to agree with me for me to be respectful and to have grace for you as a person. But I also don't have to buy into your story either. I think that's a really hard thing for for young people to navigate and not get caught up in, whether it's a peer relationship or a coach relationship or a just any kind of friendship, if you will?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think I didn't realize that until once I got to college and
Mm.
got out of that community and I stepped into a completely different one where the only people that knew me were day one, my coach and my roommates and my
Yeah.
teammates. Like, and it was terrifying, but in the best way.
Yes. Gosh, yes. Okay. So tell me, once you decided, hey, I think I want to pursue this, I do remember that conversation in the car. And I remember saying, you're a rising senior. Like,
Yeah, that was May.
yes, you just ended junior year, but like junior year had ended because COVID had shut everything down in March and you hadn't been back to school. So as a COVID person in high school, you lost your junior prom, you lost you lost homecoming coming
Yeah,
up that
that's
next
senior
your senior
homecoming.
homecoming. Yeah. How do you feel like that affected your process? Because I know firsthand how the COVID situation was in recruiting and deciding late, first of all, that you're going to do this. And then you got COVID and you can't have visits with people. So tell me a little bit about that and like give others that information, because I think it's really interesting to see how different everyone's recruiting process really, really is.
Yeah. Like I truly think no one is the same, you know?
Yeah.
And so I started super late. So the problem was that a lot of beach teams only recruited anywhere from 2 to like 5 in each class because
Yeah.
you only carry about 16, um, anywhere from 16 to 20. But so I was texting all of these coaches, I was emailing them, and they were like, hey, like, we love your film, but we're filled for your class. And so as if the indoor thing hadn't been disheartening enough, I was like, well, great. This is awesome. Like, I'm late. Are there any schools going to even have spots and all this stuff?
Mhm.
Um, and again, looking back on it, I just think it was redirection the entire time. You know, like
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
look at some of the schools that I was set on, and I was like, if I go here, that'll be my dream school. And looking now, I'm like, thank God I'm not
Yeah.
there. Like,
Yeah.
and thank God I'm where I'm at.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was super, super frustrating. And I remember, I think it was in November. And that was super late. I mean, as if May wasn't late enough.
Yeah.
I was still recruiting in November, still reaching out. And I remember I was dragging my feet with Jacksonville for some reason. I kept looking at the videos and I was like, you know, I like it, but I've never heard of it. So I don't really know what the appeal is and all this stuff.
Right.
So I finally sent Dylan an email and I was like, hey, this is me, blah, 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 for the 100th time. And I remember, I think it was a few days later, he reached back out and he was like, hey, yeah, like I loved your film and all this stuff. Let's get you on campus. Or no, we had a tournament. We had that Clearwater tournament. And he was
Yes.
like, I
Yes.
won't be there, but send me film from there and we can talk from there. So I
Yeah.
was like, great, this is awesome. So at Clearwater, I have a phone call with him. We stay connected throughout that winter. And then I go on a visit in January when no one was on campus.
Yeah.
But I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I was like, I think this is the place for me. So talked to him a little more. And then I was committed early March, which
Yeah.
is insanely late.
Right. Like my little parent heart was like pounding out of
Yeah.
my chest.
I've had
mean,
people getting dorm room stuff for their dorms, and they're like, so do you still know where you're going? I'm like, nope. No.
like I was trying not to panic while trying to help you with all that peace and still be, yeah, that was hard. Yeah. And just for any parent that may have a kid that doesn't know where they want to go, just know that it works out. Like
It always
it
does.
was 2 months before you graduated from high school, before we had everything really solidified.
Yeah.
How did it
Yeah.
feel when you finally committed?
Like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Like I could breathe, because I think for the last 2 years, it's hard because like you're in high school and you're trying to plan for the next 4 years of your life, which
Mm,
looking back at high school me now, I'm like, who was that? You know, and you grow
yeah.
so much in college that it's so important to pick a right place. And again, not looking at where other people are going and trying not to compare. But once I got committed, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, we've made it. We made it over the hill.
Yeah. Tell me about your experience in the last 3 years, being in Jacksonville, being on a team, the life, like you explained earlier, like the day in the life, how all that, like, what does that really mean to you?
I think it was a gift, a probably the biggest gift I've ever received, because it allowed me to go into a different community. And like, as you know, we've grown up in Nashville our whole life. Like my dad has grown up there. His
Mhm.
dad was there, so we had a long history in Nashville. And Father Ryan, obviously that's a big upbringing. And I'm really grateful for that community that I will always have back home. But for me, I needed to branch out. I was feeling just a little stuck.
Mhm.
And Jacksonville, Florida literally allowed me to do that. Like I have a completely different community down here and it's beautiful and I love it.
Mhm.
But as I talked about getting over the hill of recruiting, I looked over the hill and there were mountains of just things that I didn't know I was even going to go through.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just looking back on the last 3 years, I wouldn't trade any of it, like the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And that's hard to say, but it's true just because there's so many lessons in it.
Mhm.
Like truly blood, sweat, and tears of just life and
Yeah.
volleyball and not putting your identity in your sport and growing over that mountain, which I just did last year.
Yes.
Like I could just go on for days about how grateful I am. And just, I mean, I'm 20 minutes from the beach. So there's
Mhm.
truly no reason to complain. I get up every morning and I'm like, I don't have anything to complain about. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. Uh,
Yeah.
and then just being a part of a team for the last 4 years, I think has been the biggest thing, because coming here, I didn't know a ton of people. I didn't know anyone. Like I had
Right.
met my coach over FaceTime. Um,
That was crazy for me. If we think
yeah,
about that, like that was a big COVID piece. Like I'm like sending my kid 10 and a half hours away from home to a school we didn't really know a lot about until March, when we really made that commitment and followed, like, okay, this is what this looks like. And then you've never even met your coach in person. Like even on your visit, there was nobody on campus. We had to make sure no one was around. He couldn't see you. It was like
yeah,
all of these rules and stuff based on that time of our lives.
yeah. And I think that everything happens for a reason. So for some reason, I didn't need to meet him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest blessing. It's just, and I was thinking about it last night, and I think each year of being on this team, like it's been the same coach,
Mhm.
but the team has been different each year, and there's a lesson each year that's completely different. And I
Yeah.
usually don't figure it out until about halfway through or after it's over, and I look back and I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. Uh,
Oh, I
so
love
that's
that.
like, it's like a nice little present each season. I'm like, what's going to happen this season? We'll see. But
Oh, well, you grow in yourself and in your character by doing that too. But I love that you get that piece that you can look back and go, this was meaningful for me because of X, Y, and Z. And I can really see that.
yeah,
And I don't think that a lot of people really get that. So I would also attribute that to being present, like, and really taking that time to sit and center yourself, even just for a couple of minutes each day. I know that sounds really kind of corny, and you probably get it just because you've experienced it. But there's something really valuable about just sitting and not doing anything for a piece of time to open up your brain, open up your experience, and open up your perspective.
yeah. And I think I know that now because I know what chaos feels like. Because
Oh,
I,
right.
thinking back, like my sophomore year, I was trying so, because I was blessed my freshman year to get to play. I was one of the freshmen that played more. I got to play at conference, which was huge for me. And then
Yeah.
coming back sophomore year, I feel like I had to fill my shoes and then fill more.
Mm.
So I was going out to practice early every day, which everyone was, but in the long run, it was not what we needed to be doing. And I was running my body dry of
Oh,
anything, any extra energy. And that's, I think, where I got into my lowest valley of just putting my identity in my sport, putting
mhm.
my identity in the outcome of, is Dylan going to put me on this court today? Is he going to play me this weekend?
Yeah.
If he doesn't, I need to go out, and like, I can't sit in my room for 10 minutes. Like I should be doing more. And just obviously, like, you can always work harder, but I
Mhm.
think there's a way to go about it and understand that like you have to detach from it and know that this is something I do. It's not who I am.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest part for me. And I think that FCA really helped that, just seeing other people that had gone through that and gotten over it.
Mhm.
And I had this one friend there. She's graduated now, but she had this mindset her senior year. And she said, I want my motto to be play free.
Mm,
And
love
that's,
that.
yeah. So the last 2 years, that's been my motto. It's just play free. I play this
Yeah.
because I love it. If I
Yeah.
don't pass the ball, great. There's 100 other balls right behind it that I get to pass.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the identity piece too. And it seems to me, and you tell me if this is correct or not, like with your experience with other athletes and your friendship and relationships with them, I mean, I'm going to say roughly probably 90 or 95% of you, if not 100%, deal with at some point in your athletic career that identity crisis where
Hmm.
you're identifying with your sport instead of with your being, your person, yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great that you have that support. And you said it was really your sophomore season was a big turning point for you with that chaos and how to, that this was an important thing you were going to have to process.
Yeah. And I think it's hard because like we come in your freshman year and you're known as the athlete. Like
Mhm.
you go into your classes and your professors will ask, raise your hand if you play a sport. And like you see all the other sports and you see all the stuff and you're like, oh, this is awesome. This is me. Like I just go
Yeah.
play a sport. That's me. And it's just not true at all. And I think seeing my roommates step out of our sport
Mhm.
has also been a blessing because like we do have different worlds now, but I come home every day and whatever practice I had, I look at them and I'm like, they're surviving, like they're thriving. It's okay.
Yeah.
Volleyball is not the end of the world. And
Yes.
it's always just a good reminder. But yeah,
It's perspective, I think,
yeah,
and seeing other people have those different experiences and understanding that perspective is not, it's not just, this is just where we are and this is all that's important. And I do, it's a really interesting fine line because like you said earlier, you have to really navigate that for yourself personally in terms of it's good to work hard and really excel and want to achieve and want to do more, but at what cost? Like, where's your cost? Where's your line? I think
hmm,
that's
yeah,
the big thing.
totally.
Yeah. Um, what advice would you tell to people that are wanting to get into playing college athletics in general? What's a good piece for you to say, hey, if I had known this in March of my senior year, it would have helped.
Yeah. I have I always say, like, whenever we do these talks, to enjoy where you're at and enjoy the present moment, like build connections with
Mhm.
people. But I really think it rings true because, as I said, I thought that I was over the hill, and then I look over and there's mountains, and it's like it doesn't end in college.
Yeah.
So being present at a junior level, being present at the club level, whatever stage of recruiting that you're at, if you think that no one else has it bad or you have it worse than anyone, I
Yeah.
promise it's not true. People are just better at hiding it.
Right.
Uh, so I would just say truly be in the present. And it's
Mhm.
something that I have to remind myself of every day. For example, at practice this morning, I was waiting for an email. In the last hour of practice, I was in and out. And it was truly hard for me, but it's great practice. So I would just say be present wherever you're at and enjoy it
Yeah.
because it flies by.
Uh, for sure. Because I, as a mom, am looking at you going, how is it possible that you're a senior in college?
I don't know. Not sure.
like it's a snap. And I thought, oh wait, maybe it's just that her season is in the spring. And so like you guys ramp back up, you go back to school in January, you're heavy in your practices then, and you're starting like the end of February and you're done by the end of April and you're doing finals at the same time. And
Yeah.
that's the season. And I'm like, whoa, what is happening?
Yeah. And I think that's why, because we do have our breaks and we come back and it's like broken up. But yeah, I mean, it blink of an eye.
So fast, so fast. What's been the biggest challenge in your collegiate experience playing a sport?
I would definitely say two things. One, the identity thing that we talked about, and two, competing with your best friends.
Oh, right.
Because and this all came to a head sophomore year. We had 10 people in my recruiting class, and that's insane for a beach team.
Yeah.
So as soon as we stepped on the court day one, it was balls to the walls. Like, I'm going to be the best freshman on the team.
Yeah.
And, there was a blessing in that because it pushed me to be the player that I am.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like, at what cost,
Mhm.
And so finding that line of like, we're best friends and I love you and you're my teammate, but also I have to look out for myself and I have to push myself. And if that means beating you one day in practice, then that means beating you. But it
Yeah.
doesn't change our relationship as people. And
Yes.
it's sad because it does sometimes, and there's no real stopping it. But just, I think that was the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And you only get 4 years of it, 5 if you redshirt.
Yeah.
So like, looking back, I don't want to be the person that, she won all the time, but she was a terrible teammate. She was a terrible friend on the court.
Yeah.
And playing a sport in college, like, we're all competitive. We all want the attention on us.
Yeah.
So that, I think, has been the hardest thing for me.
Well, you're all driven. You're all those A-type personalities. And then you put a bunch of you together and assimilate all those personalities, and it can be really difficult and very challenging.
Yeah.
And also, too, I think it bears saying that I think you understand that you can't change someone else's opinion and their reaction. You can only take care of your own reaction. I mean, you're only responsible for your own reaction and your own feelings. So how do you, if you're having an experience with a teammate that's not so positive and you're doing everything that you can as graciously as possible, then how do you detach from reactions that may not be great and still try to retain that friendship? Like with that 10-person huge recruiting class that had, some of them fell off, some of them transferred, some of them changed their direction completely. Talk about redirection. So the people that have been your OGs, your day ones, how do you retain those relationships through those up and downs series?
I think like a big part of that too is just understanding that people do a lot of thing in anger and in competition and when they're in the spotlight. And that's really hard to say because it's like you see people's feelings and emotions and you think that it's directed directly towards you. And sometimes it's completely not. And they have things going on behind the scenes. But again, in the moment, it's really hard to say that and believe it because you'll be in practice and it's like, well, why did she look that way? Like, she obviously thought that I hit the ball out and I was lying. Like, it's just things like that. So just trying not to get in your head about that, understand that it's just a game at the end of the day.
Right. And I think too, we always talk so much about how sports parallel lives. Whether you choose to go and play in college or you're just in high school or just in middle school, there's so many different values and different lessons that you can learn. And I think that's a big one right there, is really being able to pull away and detach from other people's experience that they're having and their reactions. Because as an adult, I can tell you different friendships that I have too. 90% of the time, the reaction isn't about me. It's about stuff that they have going on that they're trying to assimilate and work through. So,
and I think that's also like a big blessing outside of the sport. It's just one of the 100 lessons I've learned, whether it's in the classroom or if I'm dealing with one of the trainers or someone even at the grocery store. And I'm like, you know what? I didn't hurt them. Someone else did. And like, I'm sorry for that. And it's not about me all the time.
Yeah. What has been your favorite thing at Jacksonville?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I know you could probably list a laundry list of them, but like if you could, maybe a couple favorite highlights of your time there. Okay. 3 is a good number.
Okay. One is the athlete like community that we have built. As I said, I went into a completely different community, not knowing anyone. And now I have friends that I would not trade for the world. And just being around people that are like-minded and that they aren't going to mess around. They're here to get better. They're here to achieve things. That's really cool because it's just an understanding between all of us. And it's super cool, especially if we're in our business school and we see each other. So that's the first thing. Right. Second is being by a beach. I have a lot of friends here that grew up here. So they're like, whatever, it's just the beach. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I lived in a landlocked state. Like, we had the lake, but
Yeah.
we don't have a
Totally
beach.
different.
Yeah, like people are spending money to go to the beach on fall and spring break, and I can just go today
Right?
after this podcast if I want to. Like, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm super jealous, just gonna say. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm planning my next trip down there. I'll be there probably next month sometime. So yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then third, the food. The food's
Okay.
really good. Yeah. We
Okay.
and Jacksonville's kind of growing too, so there's always new stuff to
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Great. There's some great little areas there. And I knew like zero about Jacksonville, Florida. So
Yeah.
it was really cool when we went to see the school and to just walk around and go, oh my gosh, and spend time in that area. I was like, those pockets of the world where you have no idea. And then you get to that place and you're like, it just feels right. Like it
Yeah.
just feels good to your
Yeah.
soul.
And it's funny because I think it was kind of paralleling my entire life because we're in the ASUN. So like Lipscomb, I've been around Lipscomb my whole life, whether it was volleyball camps or I'm 5 minutes from it from my high school. And I always saw it as like, they're like a D1 school, whatever. But then looking back, I'm like, no, like they're in the same conference as Jacksonville. And I knew nothing about Jacksonville. So
Yeah, so crazy how it
yeah.
all works. And it's you made your plans and God laughed and said, redirect.
Yep.
Here we go. This
Mm-hmm.
is what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. And selfishly, I love the fact that you are 21 years young and have figured those things out. Do you think that without college athletics, you would have figured a lot of this out?
Yeah. I really think that I would not have. I don't think I'd be the person I am
Yeah.
because knowing me, I really like being comfortable. And the last 4 years have showed me that it's okay to not be comfortable all the time.
Yeah.
But high school me would have, if I wouldn't have gotten recruited, I would have probably gone to Tennessee or another SEC school and been with the same people I had been growing up with my whole life. And I love them to death and they're amazing. But I would have been comfortable and I could have gone home on the weekends and I would have stayed the same person I am. But here it's like, I can't go home. Like I can go home for a weekend if we have practice off. So that was the biggest thing for me. I was like, okay, like I have to figure out who I am as a person. No one else is going to do it for me.
Yeah.
But it's also, again, a gift. Like no one knows me here.
Mhm.
I get to start over. I get to meet people, be myself. So yeah.
And how uncomfortable was it the first week that you were there as a freshman?
Terrible.
Yeah.
It's funny because my roommates I'm living with here now, we called ourselves the transfer trio for one week.
Wait, what'd you say? The transfer trio?
Yes, we thought that we were going to leave. Like we got here and it was so bad. We were like, oh my gosh, we hate it, blah, 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 blah. We hadn't even started classes. And we were like, we're leaving. We're going to Charleston. We're going blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And again, I'm so glad I didn't because I gave it a week and I was like, I don't want to go home. Like, I love it here.
What
So.
was the turning point for you in that week? Because I think a lot of like, if we're dealing this right now, like this podcast will air after a lot of college kids have just started back or just gone to college for the first time in September, and it's still new and they may be struggling with that whole aspect of being away and trying to figure out who they are and how to navigate their life.
I would definitely say community.
Mhm.
I remember we like hung out with our team one night and then we went and met another team. And that was like the turning point because I was like, okay, people are in the same boat as me. I'm not just here for school. I'm here to make connections. I'm here to have a life. So just the community outside of your own bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. And you go back to that comfortable space too. Like you can stay in a bubble, even 10 and a half hours away, but you have to get uncomfortable to grow.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go through it to grow through it. So one of my podcast guests said that a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go through it to grow through it. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Yeah. And I say that to you all the time, but I really am like, this is great. Yeah. You're welcome. And I want you to share with the audience what is next for you because, oh my God, you're a senior. You'll be graduating either the last weekend of April or the first weekend of May in 2025, which is just nuts. And where are you going? Are you going to stay in Jacksonville? Are you going to move? Are you going to grad school? Are you getting a job? You know what, though? As soon as I say that, like that's your plan and God's probably going to laugh.
Yeah. So I'll just say it, but it might not be true. We'll see. But I'm applying to law schools. So that's the biggest thing. I just got my second LSAT score back like in the middle of practice today. And I haven't cried, but I was shaking when I like figured it out when I saw the score. Good shaking.
So good.
Like, physically shaking. So I think I'm still in shock about that one. But yeah, so the plan is law school. JU just opened a law school, so I'm going to apply there. But I feel like I sadly am being led out of Jacksonville right now. And I don't know, that's another comfortable thing. I could stay here and be comfortable. And it would obviously be a completely new experience. And I wouldn't be as comfortable as I was in Nashville. But yeah, so I'm just going to start applying and we'll see where I'm taken.
Where the wind takes you. Oh my gosh. To be young again. I love it.
It's cool because it's like what I'm literally clinging to and have been for the last 6 months is just that like God led me to Jacksonville and I didn't know it was a place I needed until now or until I got here.
Yeah.
So I'm just clinging to that idea that like he's not going to let me down. Like I'm going to end up wherever I need to be. So
yes. And it's so true. And I think, again, we go back to that first thing we were talking about, releasing expectations, being able to really find that passion. So you found the passion of the thing that is driving you for this next season of your life. But it's in what you just said, there's a release of expectations so that the right thing can actually flow to you and you're not fighting it. You just got to flow with it.
Yeah.
Boy, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard
to
do.
Ride the wave. It's easier said than done.
Hard to ride the wave at the beach that you're at. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
The 20-minute beach. Yeah. So nice.
Gosh, I miss you.
I miss you.
I'm going to see you in a few more weeks though. So that'll be good. I'll get to give you a big old squeeze. And I talk to you on the regular anyway. So
I think we talked like 4 times yesterday on the phone about
we're daily talkers.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad. Just FYI, you're one of my last podcasts for the year. And I'm really, I'm really glad that we were able to top this off. It's so special that you're, first of all, that you're my kid. I really appreciate all of your support for me and you just being you and you being your person, because it's just such a gift to the world. And I'm biased, but I feel like you're doing a really good job. And you've got lots of peaks and valleys to go, but the navigation process is in place.
Yes. And that's all you need.
Yeah. You're rolling.
Are going to come no matter what. So
amen. Amen, sister. I want to do some rapid fire questions before you have to go to your next adventure for the day. Are you good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Here they are. Getting ready. All right. What is your favorite month out of the year?
Right now, I would say anywhere like the August to September, like the fall feel. But I also really like July because it's my birthday. So
okay. But do you like the summer better than the fall? I know what your sister likes better.
I do like the summer because of warm weather, but now that I'm down here, I get warm weather all the time. So I like the fall vibe. So I'd say September right now.
Okay, perfect. On a scale of 1 to 10, how messy is your apartment? Now, I'm not going to say your room because like if you're watching this, her room is like, you're like an advocate for making your bed every day. And I want you to talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah, that also started freshman year. You live in a 10 by 10 room, it seems like. So just making my bed was nice to come back and reset. And I'm like, oh, my bed. Like it's not messy, all this stuff. Yeah. But I would say my room, 1 being like clean, 10 being dirty, is probably at like a 2.
Okay.
But our apartment is probably like 6 or 7. We've had some maintenance problems. Our sink is leaking. Our dryer's broken. It's a Wednesday. we got a lot of stuff going on, but yeah. So it's kind of like willpower too, like who's going to clean it up. And we all do a good job of it, but some days it just gets over the top and we're like, all right, I'm going to do one thing, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, it's that roommate balance.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're like, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm only going to do this. And then,
and thankfully we're like sisters down here. So we'll yell at each other to do something if we need it done, but it's funny.
Well, that's great. You guys have been OGs. You met freshman year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Crazy.
All right. So next question, given the power, what holiday would you create?
I think I would do, I guess it would kind of be like Earth Day, but an outside day where you have to go outside. Like we don't have any work. No one does anything. You just get to go do whatever you want outside.
It's an outside day. I imagine there's something like that, but you have to put that twist on it where no one's allowed to work. Like everybody has to have a down day.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm there for that.
Yeah.
I'm totally there for that. All right. Number 4, do you believe in soulmates?
Yes. I am a hopeless romantic. I literally watched a rom-com the last 2 days. But yes. And I think that like not just romantic relationships, I think everyone comes into your life for a reason.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah. Soulmates can be multiple different levels. It doesn't have to be romantic necessarily, but I think that's when someone says that they believe in that concept, I feel like they're a pretty hopeful person. They have a pretty optimistic attitude, even given past situations that may not have been so positive for them.
Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah. You have grown so well. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
Yes. All right. Question 5, and then I'll let you go. And you got like your time is running out and you got to get going.
Oh, it's okay.
All right. Number 5 is a little bit deeper, but what do you wish you had learned sooner?
That it is okay to not know.
Oh,
because I think with this whole LSAT thing, like, first of all, I don't get my results back for 3 weeks after I took it.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest thing for me. But also, like, not knowing about the future, not knowing, I don't know what law school I'm going to go to. Like, I don't know what part of the country I'll end up in. I didn't know where I was going to be, but it always works out one way or another. So I think that's the biggest thing. And I have to tell myself that every day. Like, because I'm a person of certainty. I love, like, knowing. And life is not like that. So,
well, you get that honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, and I think a lot of it is just, like we have so many certain things in our life. Like we have our routines and we know we're going to get up tomorrow morning and I'm going to wash my face and brush my teeth and go breakfast. And then I have this.
Yeah.
But then it's all the little things in between that make it up as life. So I don't know.
You're going to be a great mom one day when all those little monkey wrenches thrown in, like,
oh
my gosh.
I'm like, I have all boys. It's just going to be.
Will you wait? Do you want to have all boys?
I think I want 2 boys and a girl or 3 boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Boy sports, right?
Yes. All the sports.
Oh, so I should ask you this one because I think I asked you maybe a couple years ago, but maybe it's changed. Will your kids play sports?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And like, they don't have to play in college, but I think you learn so many skills. So.
I agree. What was your favorite sport growing up when you were tiny little? Like the things that we made you do to say, we're just going to introduce you to something to try it. I'm really interested.
It wasn't gymnastics because I couldn't have a leotard.
Stop.
Yeah. Anyways, I really liked ballet. Ballet.
Oh my gosh. I forgot about ballet. You did that for 2 or 3 years, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Yes.
I wish I would have stuck with it on the side, but it's okay.
I will, I'll pull out those old pictures and send you a picture.
Yeah. You can post it with this.
You know what? You just gave me permission to right there.
You just gotta listen.
There you go.
But yeah.
I love it. Oh, honey, I love you. I'm so proud of you.
I love you.
Oh,
thanks
God.
for having me.
Oh, I hope you have the best day and the best rest of your week.
I'm going to ship you back your stuff. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Yes. The things that we do. She's going to ship me back things that in my old brain sent to the wrong space on Amazon. So, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Have a wonderful day. I love you so much.
Love you.
Bye, girl.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. If you have an idea for an interview or you would like to share your own story, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message at dawn@thesoulgoals.com. If you enjoyed today's podcast, I'd love for you to leave a review and to consider following and subscribing to the show. With weekly releases, there is always another interesting story to be heard. I do hope that today's guests and their words have helped to bring some extra light to your day and encouraged you to find a deeper space of your very own soul goals. Until next time, friends, remember that everyone has a story and every story matters.